So by this point, I pretty much picked apart every facet of the Zelda 2026 Ocarina of Time remake, at least with the information they've given us so far. So instead of beating a dead horse, today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I want to see in the next mainline Zelda game. Whether it comes out in 2028, 2029, or 2030. When you think about it, we're probably about halfway through the cycle to a new Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom came out in, I think, 2023? So we're getting there. So it's about time to start speculating. And here are a few things that, personally, I would like to see in the next mainline Zelda game. And I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to cut to the chase and get right into this video here. So, all right, here's the first thing. And the first thing that I want to see is a completely new Hyrule, or for the game to take place in somewhere other than Hyrule entirely, right? Like, when you think about it, some of the best Zelda games took place outside of Hyrule. You have Link's Awakening, Majora's Mask, the Oracle games. I think it'd be cool for them to just completely move away from Hyrule, or to make Hyrule completely unrecognizable and do something completely different with it, right? Instead of the same old tired regions, you could add something entirely new. I think that would be great, to be honest with you. I think that it'd be kind of tired to revert and set another game in the same old tired Kingdom of Hyrule. I think some change needs to be made there, and I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. I have a feeling they're going to move in another direction, but we'll see what happens once we get close to the time and some trailers start dropping. But I have a hunch they're going to go in another direction with this one. All right, the next thing that I want to see is the return of traditional dungeons, and I know this has been talked about to death, but the dungeons in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom just weren't it, right? You can be a huge fan of those games, and you could also, acknowledge that the dungeons weren't it. And the fact, I think what harms the dungeons is that you have to do these terminal challenges where you go to each terminal in the dungeon in whatever order you want. I think the dungeons by themselves need to be, they need to be a little bit more linear, right? You can have a puzzle that has multiple solutions, but you don't want to be able to just slap a rocket on your shield and just cheese the entire dungeon. So we need traditional dungeons, and I'm talking about like 6 to 10 core meaty dungeons of the scope of Ocarina of Time Adult Link, right? When you think of that game and you think of the dungeons, all of them are bangers in the adult section, right? Maybe the Fire Temple is probably the weakest, or the Water Temple, but when you think about the Spirit Temple, the Shadow Temple, and the Forest Temple, like, those are all certified bangers. Every one of those dungeons just slaps, right? None of those is a miss. I think they need to bring back that kind of dungeon design and that scope and scale, right? Unique bosses in every dungeon. You got mini bosses and items. I think that would be the way to go, and I think that's what a lot of fans want to see. I think they've heard that feedback, but it'll be curious to see what direction they go with the new Zelda. And they could do some more interesting theming with the dungeons. One thing, when you think about Twilight Princess, every dungeon in that game is pretty unique, right? Whether you have Snowhead Temple or the Twilight area, I forget what it's called, the Zone of Twilight. Those are all really unique, and even the Arbiter's Grounds, stuff that hasn't been done since, or will probably ever be done again. So that's the kind of stuff I want to see in the next mainline Zelda. And the next thing I want to see is a new art style. I want them to go with like a stylized realism art style. So think something like Twilight Princess, but maybe a bit more realistic. And honestly, probably in line with what they're doing with Ocarina of Time 2026. Just based on the little snippets we've seen of that game so far, I think the art style looks pretty good. And it's definitely what I'd want to see in a Zelda game. I think by having a kind of, stylized realism, they can make some of the horror elements or some of the darker elements of Zelda hit a little bit harder. I think a lot of fans want to see this. Like, I love the Wind Waker and Skyward Sword to some extent. Those art styles are cool. They're pretty timeless, especially the Wind Waker when you really think about it. But I think the direction Zelda needs to move in at this point is just a stylized realism. That would be the most interesting to me, and I think that's also what a lot of other fans would like to see. And honestly, it's been a while since we've got a truly somewhat realistic Zelda. I think the last one, it was definitely Twilight Princess. So that would be cool to see. I want to talk about the weapons and weapon durability. I know most of us just want to play with the Master Sword the whole time, or the Kokiri Sword, or something along those lines. Like having multiple weapons in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is cool, but also they shouldn't break after like 20 hits. If they want to bring that back, they need to completely overhaul the weapon durability system and make it so your weapon doesn't break after just like 20 hits, like I said. Have it to where you can visit a blacksmith, you can repair that weapon, you can upgrade it, so you're not constantly just losing your favorite weapon. And again, I don't want to fuse a Lizalfo sword, like tail to a stick and use that as a weapon. So, that needs to go. So they need to just completely overhaul how weapons are done. Maybe you can pick up enemy weapons and use those, but it shouldn't be to the scale of what it is in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion. It's probably the most contentious and hated point of those two games is the weapon durability system. And it put a lot of people off, right? If you want to use the Master Sword the whole time, you should just be able to use your Master Sword. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It worked in so many other Zelda games and it still works, but there should be like new sword techniques and stuff you could do. Maybe you can upgrade the Master Sword like you could in previous games with different levels and stuff like that. I think would go a long ways. But anyways, yeah, just do away with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's weapon system for the most part. I mean, the combat in that game is fun, but it doesn't come from just the swordplay alone. I think they could really introduce some strong swordplay, and that would satisfy a lot of fans, to be honest with you. The next thing I want to see is just a new villain entirely, right? I think Ganondorf and Ganon are getting kind of tired at this point. It's been done so many times. And when you think about some of the most memorable villains in Zelda, right, you think of stuff like Avati and Majora's Mask, the one-off villains that have been in only a few games that are really interesting. And even Demise, to some extent, was a pretty fresh concept, kind of being the origin story of Ganondorf and the cycle of evil and hatred. I think they did a great job with that. But Ganon and Ganondorf has been done so many times and to varying success. I think the worst iteration of Ganon and Ganondorf, well, actually it was just Ganon, is Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild, right? His spider form is just kind of weak, and especially if you've unlocked all the Divine Beast, you just nuke the guy and you come in and you whoop his ass. So I think that, and not to mention that the fight where you're on horseback is just abysmal. I mean, it's a cool spectacle, but that fight is just way too easy. I think they need to introduce like an entirely new villain to really shake things up. Something along the lines of Majora and Majora's Mask. That was one of my favorites and probably one of the most impactful villains in the series, to be honest. And next, I want to see the return of proper dungeon items. I just finished a playthrough of Ocarina of Time yet again, and I noticed one of my favorite items in the game was the hook shot. And especially when you upgrade the hook shot to the long shot in the water temple, and you could just kind of hook to anything, it extends so far. It'd be cool to have the hook shot back, some of the boots, and a few other items that are Zelda staples I'd love to see make a return. I didn't really like it that necessarily you got your whole kit, essentially, and it was on your Sheikah slate from the get-go after you finish the first 3 shrines, right? I want to actually feel like I'm improving and progressing as I traverse each dungeon, Nothing beats that feeling of, when you complete a dungeon, you just feel significantly more powerful than you did when you entered that dungeon. One great example is completing the Spirit Temple. This dungeon is just so great. It's got 2 main items, right? It's got the Silver Gauntlets and the Mirror Shield. And by the time you're done with the Spirit Temple, you just feel like a beast. You feel like just a walking machine of death. So that's something I want to see. Please bring back core dungeon items. And lastly, I want to see more populated villages and towns. I feel like in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild even, it felt pretty scarce, right? You have, I think the biggest village in that game was Haitano. I think they could have improved on that. You got the Goron Zora and, the Gerudo towns, which were all pretty good. But they could definitely take those to the next level as far as NPC interactions go, NPC time schedules, and just make every NPC feel somewhat impactful. I think that'd be pretty cool. Right? People always point to Clock Town as an example, but it is a perfect example. I mean, that was back then in the year 2000, and they could only do so much more with that in the present day. So yeah, more populated towns and more towns would be pretty cool, I think. Anyways, guys, this has been my thoughts on what I want to see in the next mainline Zelda game. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summer, and I'm already at 750, which is just incredible to think, right? Thank you guys so much. And if you subscribed for Ocarina of Time content, there will be more, right? I've got probably 10 more ideas in the oven that I'm working on right now, so don't worry about that. That's always going to come, right? As far the other stuff's going to come too, so no worries there. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. It greatly helps me out. I appreciate each and every one of you. And let me know in the comment section what you want to see in the next mainline Legend of Zelda game. I'm really curious to know your thoughts, right? So anyways, guys, until next time, this has been Matt from Top Tier. I'm out. Bye.